Good evening, everybody, and welcome. My name is Nick, and I help direct events here at the Strand. Before we launch into tonight's event with Rachel Cohn, David Levithan, and Dante Brown, I'd like to share a little bit of history about the Strand. The Strand was founded in 1927 by Benjamin Bess on 4th Avenue's Book Row. Stretching from Union Square to Astor Place, Book Row gradually dwindled from 48 bookstores until after 93 years, the Strand is the sole survivor, now run by third-generation owner Nancy Bass Wyden. We want to thank all of you for your support. Without our loyal community of book lovers, we wouldn't be here today. Tonight we are excited to have with us Rachel Cohn and David Levithan to celebrate the launch of their new book, Mind the Gap, Dash and Lily, and the Netflix show, Dash and Lily, an adaptation of their book series of the same name. Rachel Cohn is the author of critically acclaimed YA novels Very Le Freak, You Know Where to Find Me, Cupcake, Shrimp, Gingerbread, and Beta. A graduate of Barnard College, she lives and writes in Los Angeles. When not writing during spare hours on weekends, David Levithan is editorial director at Scholastic and the founding editor of the Push imprint, which is devoted to finding new voices and new authors in teen literature. His acclaimed novels Boy Meets Boy and The Realm of Possibility started as stories he wrote for his friends for Valentine's Day, something he's done for the past 22 years and counting, that turned themselves into teen novels. He's often asked if the book is a work of fantasy or a work of reality, and the answer is right down the middle. It's about where we're going and where we should be. Joining Rachel and David in conversation tonight is Dante Brown, a musician and actor that has starred in movies such as Lethal Weapon, Won't Back Down, and most recently Ma, alongside Octavia Spencer. He will next be seen in the Netflix series Dash and Lily. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Rachel, David, and Dante to the stage. Give me 1 second to bring everyone on. Here we go. Take it away, folks.
Thank you. Hi, guys.
We're here. We made it. Hello.
Good. How y'all doing? How is everybody doing?
Good. We got 4 hours until the show is on Netflix.
I know, right, guys? I'm pumped. I got all my friends like, we're on a timer. We're gonna get on Zoom as soon as I get off. We all just gonna wait and watch it.
Yeah.
Well, we're so thrilled to have you here. And I think that he said it before, but Dante plays Boomer on the show, and if you've read the book, you know he is one of the most ebullient characters you could ever meet, as is Dante.
Typecasting. Nah. All right, so let's start. I mean, so where are you guys?
I'm in LA.
Okay.
I'm also in LA. Where are you?
Home. Well, I'm in New Jersey in the suburbs. I was originally going to be at the Strand. We were going to surprise, but that didn't quite work out. I couldn't break in and couldn't stay in overnight, which would have been totally in the spirit of the movie. But before we start, I do want to just say that the Strand, I mean, usually you do a bookstore event and it's great. You love the bookstore, but the Strand is in the DNA of both this book and this TV show. I mean, you couldn't have Dash and Lily without the Strand. So it's really amazing to be launching it here with them. And we are really encouraging everybody throughout the night. We will be giving you the hard sell, but we're giving you the hard sell because we want you to buy our books. But also, as you probably know, because it was in the news, the Strand is hurting pretty badly because of the pandemic. And so we really want you to support this bookstore. Again, it is the lifeblood of book culture in New York. And again, it is the lifeblood of the show. And we'll talk about sort of how it intersected with the book and the show throughout the night. But again, please buy as many copies as you can. We will be signing them. Rachel and I will have signed copies available for you. So again, even though we are not there, we will get our signatures there. All right. And so, yeah, let's talk. I mean, I feel this is timely. Who knew that Christmas was coming early this year? I feel we all got a pretty good present over the weekend. And I think that really kind of paves the way to the show. I mean, I think already we've been seeing great reviews and all of them are saying what a joy it is and just how wonderful a feeling it is, and it's a comfort watch. It is very much like watching a holiday, and everything seeming so magical. And before we talk, Dante, I just want to say, like, Rachel and I love this show so much. I mean, I when I first watched it, I kept telling the friends I was watching it, like, I don't know if it's healthy for me to love this show so much. Like, everything is perfect. You are so perfect in it. Midori and Austin are so perfect in it. Troy is so perfect. Like, every single beat, every single person is so perfect in it. And I get to be the unbiased one because I, of course, had nothing to do with it except for writing the book and showing up on the set a lot. My co-author, Rachel, however, wrote one of the episodes, which is absolutely wonderful. And so she actually gets to take credit for both, which is pretty amazing.
That was pretty special. And I have to say, I didn't get to be on set as much as you, David, because I was in LA. But the few times that I was there, and Dante, I'd love to hear your perspective on this too. It just felt like for everybody, obviously it's a job to get the show made, but it also felt like a labor of love, like from everybody from the top down, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Especially with you guys checking up on set the first day, like just me meeting you guys, understanding like the relationship, understanding like even when me and Austin sat down. I think our first director, Brad, had such an amazing view on how he wanted to help you guys get your view across on screen. So I think us working with him, me, Austin, Midori, Troy, for our first couple of episodes, I think he really under got us to understand what we were making, and how we were trying to get, how you guys were trying to get it across, like how differently we were trying to make it, because it's not like just a regular studio project, like a book project. It's like, it's kind of like indie almost in a way, but it's like, with a mainstream tax on it. And I love that fact and feel of it.
Yeah, no, even when the filming, you totally got that feel of sort of the indie meets mainstream about it. Like, and yeah, all the directors, but especially Brad, you had that eye towards it. And it was amazing to see all of you. It feels like you and Austin got your dynamic pretty quick between sort of the Dash and Boomer dynamic.
For sure.
Was that hard for you guys to get to, or did you sort of naturally just hit that rhythm?
No, I think it was naturally. I think when I landed in New York, I was looking for my apartment. That whole fiasco thing you're doing, and like after every time we were shooting, or like the first day that we're like, I guess doing our wardrobe testings, I would go to his spot after, and we would watch like old time movies. Like I don't watch old movies. All he does is watch old movies. Like, so he would catch me up on everything. And like we would watch cartoons. I would put him on in different cartoons. Like, so we were like bonding, like we're like friends. Like, after work, we would go eat. Like, it was really cool just having that perspective, and then like connecting the dots with my friend Shot. He's like just like Dash. Like to the fact that it's kind of funny. So I just played that relationship and put him in that seat.
I'd love to ask you about filming in New York. I mean, one of the funny things I noticed, like when they filmed Nick and Nora, there was one night where they shot at Port Authority, and it was late in the middle of the night, and there were hardly any people there, but there would be people running to a bus, and they had this little portion of Port Authority cordoned off for the film. And it was soon after Superbad had come out, and there'd be people running to get their bus because it's the last bus of the night. It was the middle of the night, and they'd stop and they'd be like, "Oh my God, that's a kid from Superbad!" And then they keep running. And things like that happen throughout the shoot, where like you just have the random energy of New York that has nothing to do with your set, and it's kind of I'd love to hear if for you, did that happen to you at all, like feeling that energy of what's happening around you?
It's crazy. We were shooting one night, and I think it was a few nights after Halloween, or like a night after Halloween. And actually, me and Austin hung out for Halloween. He took me around with his friend. We would just hang out. So I think we were shooting, and somebody was like, "Jake Gyllenhaal's outside," and I'm a big fan of Jake Gyllenhaal. I met him when I was like young. I saw Bubble Boy. That was like, I saw his acting in that, and I saw how it was comedic but very dramatic at the same time. So I was like, I love the way he comes across with characters. And I met him when I was really young because of Won't Back Down. Maggie Gyllenhaal's sister is actually in the movie. So he was at the premiere. I have pictures with him. So when I met up with him, and I was like, yo, what's good with you? Like, how you doing? What's going on? And all. He remembered who I was. We just took a picture, just snapshot.
That's amazing.
It was so sick for him to remember who I am, and then go, oh, you working on something? He's giving me advice, and then just understanding, the relationships. This is somebody I met like when I was like, what? I don't even know, like 11, 12, and he still remembered. Like he's still like, wow, you're in a position where you're still working, and wow, I can be in a position to talk to you, So it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the whole fun of the show, is that the book is about running around New York. And like, definitely. I feel the filming of New York, or the filming of the show, we were also running around New York and like being like, looking at the location maps. It would be like, oh, you're on the Upper West Side at 2:00, and then you're going to be down at Two Boots at 3:00. And it was crazy.
I would get lost so many times. I had to call AD so many times in the morning. It was one point that I think one of the ADs like really got sick of me that morning, because I called him at least about 20, 30, 40 times, because it was like my first time being in New York by myself, not having like a parent to like, shuffle you around. Oh, there's this. So I saw seven. So it's 7 streets. I was like, whoa. So
here's where we have to give some praise also, the beginning of many, but to Joe Trace, who is the showrunner, who also created the series and the head writer of it. But one of the things he has said all along, and I saw it in the writing room and I saw it on set too, and you even actually see it in the show, in the episode where Lily has her little subway map and she's pinning things on it. But Joe was always very clear, like, we're going to be true to the geography of New York. So many times when you see things that are shot in New York, you have people going from place to place that makes no sense logistically.
And you know what's crazy? I saw in like when we released a trailer, a lot of times people would like, when they're like, oh, this is the plot, that's what they would think, like, oh, they're gonna be in this part of New York, then they're gonna go over here. I'm like, they really have no idea how hard you guys work on making sure the script is like very flowing and authentic, and like, just making sure it rolls very nicely. So I can't wait to see, with some people who think they know plots and like can guess plots,
right?
You guys take them in. I can't wait to see that.
I will admit, and keeping in mind, I wrote half the book, and yet since I did not read the scripts, I watched the show the first time. I was like, whoa, wait, what? Oh, okay. Like there were these moments of like total twist that I did not see coming, and you're involved in some of them, I must say, without giving anything away. So that was pretty cool. If I could be surprised, I imagine that the audience will be surprised too. So I'm curious for both of you, so what was your favorite scene? Like for Dante, your favorite scene to be a part of, Rachel, when you're watching it, what was your favorite scene? Or in your episode, what was your favorite scene to write?
I think my favorite scene, it has to be with definitely with Austin running to get the Santa hat. Top notch. I can't wait for people to see that. That's hilarious. Just the elf, him being in Law & Order. And then I remember like, oh, I'm in Law & Order. So playing that position.
It came full circle.
Oh, that's too funny.
So then you have to I had to address him how people address me when they see me. So it was kind of fun to flip the script. And it's just like, you, as an actor, you never know when moments like that are just going to be authentic. And you're like, oh, I know exactly how to do this. I know exactly what this feels like,
Yeah. That's actually one of my favorite scenes too. And that was the first day that I was on set. And I went specifically because it was that day, because they had recreated Santaland, Macy's Santaland on a soundstage in Greenpoint. And I was like, I have got to see that. And it was just to like go down this like, normal street and walk into the soundstage, and it's just completely transformed down to like, my favorite detail was that they even had Art Deco elevator exteriors. Like they have at the real Macy's. I mean, they're real. They're not just exteriors at Macy's, obviously. But that was insane to me to see the level of detail for that, and just like the opulence of it. And it plays a little differently than in the book. It's one of my favorite things too, is when we do readings, is when David reads aloud that particular scene. It's like everybody sitting around, Papa Santa Claus to hear this thing. It's so fun. But it was a different take on it that I just loved, and to see you guys' energy, and you guys were having so much fun with it. It was really great to see. And also, obviously, I'm a huge pizza fan. So to see you in two boots, like the real two boots, not just like a fake two boots.
Now,
That
I
was
was
like
making
with
two
fake
boots
exteriors.
pizza, like it was dope because they like I went through a training process the first week that I got there, where I'm making like their pizza, and then every day after that, every time we went into two booths, I was making a pizza. Like I made my own pizza. Like
That's amazing.
the whole crew was eating the pizza. It was like I made like 2-3 pizzas at one point. We were just cooking. Like it was really fun. Like I really had a lot of fun being in that space, working there, acting like I'm working there. Putting the whole shebang was hilarious to me. It was a really entertaining process to put my mind through.
Yeah. And I have to say, I mean, going back to your question, David, like I loved everything. So it's hard to really pinpoint one thing, but I have to say, like maybe if I have to choose one nugget of a moment, it is Midori's scene when she's dancing in the Klezmer Punk Club. It was such a fun scene to write when I wrote the book, and I just never imagined how
the elbows,
like that. It was like beyond my dreams that it could be that great, and she just knocked it out of the park. I mean, you all did on every level with everything, but that one had a very special place in my heart to see, and I can't wait for viewers to see that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love that so much. I mean, and I was there when they were filming the Alice in Wonderland scene, but they had the dailies for the dance, and so everyone was like, "You have to see this dance. You have to see this dance." And I was like, "That was one of the first things I saw," and I was like, "All right, this show is going to be great if that dance is in it."
I kept hearing about it, but I didn't know what it was, and I'd kind of forgotten about it from the book. So they're like, "Did you see Midori's dance? Did you hear about it?" And I was like, "No, I don't really know what you're talking about." And then when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's what they meant." It was amazing.
No, and among my favorites, I love just like Grand Central Station being there at like 2 a.m. Like that's one of the funny things about filming is not only are you in these places, but you're often there like in the middle of the night, and everything is like surreal because like your body's like, what's happening? And you're like, I'm here with a filming crew that shut down Grand Central Station. And I love that. Another thing which we're allowed to talk about because he tweeted footage from it today, we also got our own private Jonas Brothers concert, which I feel was one of the craziest. I mean, Dante, you were there. It was crazy. That was the most extras I think we had. It was raining, snowing, everything was being thrown at us. But
there were more extras that just came just to be extras, just to see it. Like it was a true day. Like I remember it was drizzling, sometimes even raining. Did it hail at one point? I think it hailed that day.
I think it did, yeah.
At some point it was hailing. I do remember. That was crazy. That was a crazy day. Actually, a fan hit me up on Instagram and said that she took a trip to see someone, and she was actually there that day watching down. Like, so see people's different perspectives on, different times and different things like that. It's kind of funny to, hear about and see.
Yeah, it's totally, totally crazy. All right, another question I had to throw out there. So the story is so much about the holidays. And about holiday traditions. And so I know that in writing the book, Rachel, that certain cookies may have ended up in the book and the TV show because you love them. So do you have any sort of holiday traditions of your own, like that you'll be using to celebrate now that the holidays are coming?
Are you asking me?
Either you or Dante.
I'll start. Well, I mean, anybody who knows me knows that I come from, on my mother's side of the family, a very large extended Polish Catholic family, and with a lot of Christmas traditions. So a lot of my Christmas traditions come from that. Also, I love to bake, and it was fun to give that to Lily as a thing to do. Is like I kind of imagined her as like Elf, you know, in the movie Elf, and he's throwing the snowballs like that. I imagined her making her cookie press like like she's a maniac. She's so good at it. Yeah, so that's what. So what about you, Dante? What are your special holiday
I think
traditions?
my tradition is pretty much since I moved out here. My tradition is going back to Chicago and like spending time with all my family. Is pretty much where all my cousins, everybody gets together, and we just spend like a whole Christmas, I guess 3 weeks at on my grandma's block. She owns like a couple of houses on that block, so we just hang out. We have fun. We have a party in the basement after Christmas. We open up our presents aggressively, like from youngest to oldest. And then like I think whoever has the most presents win. It's a whole like ordeal. Like it's just being around. Like I think my tradition is just being around my family at that time.
Yeah. On Christmas Eve in my family, I mean, because there's so many cousins, it used to be the tradition. I mean, there's a Polish dinner tradition on Christmas Eve called Vigilia, where you have a very specific dinner and observe certain traditions. And then the tradition in our family was after the dinner that every kid would get to open one present. It was usually like a cousin exchange. It's not the Santa presents. It's not the big thing, but it's like in order to kind of relieve the tension. And then in the last few years, like all of my cousins had kids, and there's so many that you stopped being able to do it individually because you'd be there all night if every kid got to have their 1 minute. So it became a thing where we're just like, the last time I was there, it was like, okay, everybody open your present at once. And then all of a sudden it was like this wrapping paper explosion all over the floor because there's so many kids opening a present all at once. So that's one of my I haven't been with the family for a long time to see that, but I loved seeing that, just like how much the family grew and just to see, like I said, the present explosion happening all at once on Christmas Eve.
Definitely.
And for me, my favorite Christmas tradition is nothing. I'm Jewish. I don't celebrate, and that is, if anybody is tasked with defining irony, the fact that I've become so enmeshed in this Christmas tradition is sort of wonderful to me. I will say, being there for filming, I was like, wow, Christmas is winning me over. I'm actually feeling the Christmas spirit by being on the set. Like it was like, how could I deny it? You're like 3 a.m. sipping hot cocoa at the Christmas market in Union Square. Like you can't deny how magic it is. So
I will say, David texted me a lot from set when he was there, and there was another time when I was with him on set when they were shooting at the Strand, and we were just kind of being on set, there's so much waiting. You're just sitting around waiting, and so we were sitting in the area with all the Strand swag, and he said something to the effect of like, who needs socks that say the Strand on them, And then a couple weeks later, you guys were shooting at Union Square in the middle of the night. Apparently it was very cold. And he texted me and he's like, I just ran over to the Strand to get some socks. Apparently you do need them.
Yep. I was like, my feet are freezing. Where can I get socks? And like, it was so sweet because like guys in the crew had like all the hand warmers, and like we were putting them in our like socks and putting them in like our sleeve, like we were trying to keep warm.
Because that's hilarious.
It was kind of epic. So speaking of the Strand, just to talk about the book a little bit, and I also will pause here to say that there is an ask a question button, and we will probably in about 5-10 minutes move to your questions. So this is my way of saying, hey, ask questions. You can ask any of us questions, all of us questions about the books, about the TV show. We are so psyched to answer them. So please throw your questions in there. It looks like we have 5. Let's build some more. And again, to remind you, please keep buying books from the Strand right now or during or after. That would be great. So let's talk about the Strand. I mean, one of the craziest things about the filming experience was the fact that we were writing this 3rd book while the filming was going on. So literally, one night I was in the Strand overnight writing a chapter, literally while Midori and Austin were filming as Dash and Lily. And so it was the rare occasion where literally my characters were in the room with me as I was writing.
Can I ask a question? I'm gonna ask a question.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask a question.
Oh, you're typing it in? All right, then I will keep going. Now I'm curious what his questions could be. So it was crazy because we decided that we were going to send Dash and Lily to London for their third Christmas. We did this because both Rachel and I love London, and we thought it would be funny to sort of take both of them off of their home turf and sort of put them in somewhere where they were not familiar and see how that affected their relationship. And again, it was funny. So I will ask Rachel the question that I've already answered a bunch of how did it affect you? You saw the actors, you sort of got to know them, and then you had to write chapters with these characters. How did that affect how you wrote the characters?
I tried not to let it much, but I have to say, we're not supposed to be so fond of everything. We, be harsher judges, but I got so fond of all the actors that it definitely affected the way I started to write them. I think that I would have, it gave me a different eye on them. Yeah, but I think I stayed also just tried to stay true to the books, like just remember like these are different lanes. If anything, it was more just like it was really great to have a mental image in my head of how these people looked, and also like especially with Dante, you can just feel his energy, and like to be able to, and it could feel that with all of the actors too, so to be able to kind of imbibe the book with that a little bit was different. It might have been more for you though, just because you were on set more. It was a little bit more removed for me in terms of writing that.
Yeah, I mean, I will confess, for me, it totally, all the actors took over the characters, like in a really good way. Like, and again, luckily, as we've discussed before, I don't picture things as I'm writing, so it's not that I saw them, but like I heard Austin's voice doing Dash's narrative. Like, it's not too much of a spoiler to say that the boomer may show up in the third book, and certainly, Dante, I was thinking of you uttering the lines as I was writing them. I think so. So that, I think, was there. Did it change the story or the plot? No, not at all. But certainly it changed my understanding of the characters. But it's sort of a cyclical thing, because the reason that I defaulted to the actors was because they were doing such a great job of embodying the characters. So it's all on the same piece. So what was the hardest thing about setting it in London to you?
Not being there. I wanted to take a trip there so badly, and I had planned it. We kind of wrote it very quickly, and there obviously we had just come from the filming and all of that, so there was a very small window of time in which to go. And I have two British half sisters, and one of my sisters is in England, so I had an extra incentive to go and visit. So we wrote the first draft, and I was really excited. I had made plans to go to England just to kind of suss it all out and feel that energy before we started revising. And the week I was supposed to go was the same week everything shut down.
Wow.
So it's been more, writing it was more a sense of memory, but also sort of in the way that I feel about New York, where I don't live there anymore, but this incredible feeling of fondness and love. Just two places I really love a lot. And so it would be nice to be there, but it was also nice just to take my head there and start writing it.
Yeah, and I was lucky because I got to be in London 2 weeks before the pandemic hit. So I did, again, we I think we're in page proofs, and I was sending you photos all the time. Like, I ran around the city trying to fact check all the places, and there's a lot that happens in Claridge's, in the lobby of Claridge's, and so I, of course, like, from running around, like, got into the lobby with this sweaty guy, like, surreptitiously taking pictures of everything, like jotting down notes, and like they have these very sophisticated doormen who just were giving me the like strangest looks, and I just didn't know how to explain to them, like, I've already written this, it's already on my book, it's in my head, I'm just making sure we got it right.
Just making sure it's correct.
Yeah, and it's amazing that I was not arrested, but we'll see. But hopefully we'll be filming there eventually. And then we'll be able to say, hey, remember me? Who knows?
Remember when we were stuck in our houses for a year and dreaming of going to London, so we just wrote a book about there instead?
Well, I mean, like, the last thing before we go to the questions, and it looks like we now have plenty of questions, which is great, is like, when you watched the show, I mean, there was this sort of fondness for the distant past that isn't that distant. That it is, we didn't realize we were filming a snapshot of what life was like before COVID, but that's what we did. I mean, it's I never thought that like seeing a crowd scene would make me like a little teary.
Jealous. Like, I was like, hold on.
Yeah.
Right, remember, we hugged each other all the time. What, like...
And we spoke like face to face.
Like...
Yeah, so isn't it hard to believe? Like, it's how much has changed.
Good time.
Yeah. All right. I think it is time, because we now have so many. You guys were really good about responding with questions, so Nick is going to hit us up.
That's right. I'm back, and I'm here to ask questions. All right. Let's start with this one's a pretty top-rated one, and it's from Caitlin on Facebook. Rachel and David, if you had to get permanently stuck in one section of Strand, what would you pick?
Is there a section where there's food? Because that's probably my automatic pick.
There is a cooking section, and several subsections therein.
Although I do the is it the rare book room where they filmed at on the top floor?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful room, so that'd be a nice place to be stuck also.
Yeah, I feel that, because also you get to go back into the offices, like it's like the Warren, where you can like, oh, there's a bathroom here.
And there's a kitchen back there.
Exactly. So that would probably be my answer. I will say it was amusing because, as someone who has spent a lot of time in the Strand, which is why it's in the book in the first place, I thought, okay, we're going to be there overnight. I'm going to get to explore. I'm going to see all these corners I never saw before. It'll be so cool. Finally, it's like my Mrs. Basley Frankweiler night at the Strand. And I wandered around and I realized that, no, I'd been to every corner. Like, it's just like, there was no like aha moment. I was like, nope, you've been here a lot and you've seen every single inch of this place. But it's still pretty cool.
Nice. All right, let's see here. Here's one for Dante. This is, and by the way, folks at home, if your name is displayed for me, I'll go ahead and say it. So apologies in advance if I say anyone's name incorrectly. I will make my best guess. Do you relate to Boomer? Are you similar or different to the character? That's from Mafaz on Facebook.
Okay. I am, in a sense that I had to create a mindset of what I would want Boomer to look like in real life. I know they created, the form of the breakdown of how they, like, his energy, his essence, but I wanted to make sure his aesthetic and everything about him was clear and cool, and, just making sure that he was that type of person that everybody can see, like, is like a whole like best friend, like the best is like the definition of best friend. So understanding the breakdown in the book of what Boomer was and how people are in real life, I just wanted to mesh them and make them as close as possible. So, my writers, David, Rachel, they can feel happy in what they've made, because it's all presenting their product and also then showing, the world for entertainment process. So like I relate a lot because having to put that work in. I feel like he's a Libra because I made him. I made the character life. So of course I feel like he's like the best Libra type friend you could ever have. He's super energetic, super fun to be around, always about the adventure. It's a process of energy. Like that character takes a ton of energy. Like I go home from sleep tired, but it's something to learn and also understand, because there are people that live their lives like that. There are people that like really like that feel these type of things. So I wanted to also relate to them as well.
It's good to have Libras in your life.
I love that specificity too.
Yeah. Let's see. There was one I saw that was really good. There's so many questions. Let's see. What are Dash and Lily's quarantine hobbies? Does Lily have an herb garden? Does Dash secretly nurse a sourdough starter that he named Mulder after obsessively binging the X-Files?
That's a great question.
Who asked that?
That is a good question.
I'll defer to Lily and say I think she's doing a lot of baking, and she has, making new recipes. But I think she's also, she's such a person who needs to get out and about. So I think she's really doing a lot of dog walking and everyone says about quarantine, I don't have a dog, but everyone's dog says about their dogs, like their dogs are so tired because their dogs are getting walked so much because everyone's just a little bit stir crazy. So I think Lily would be participating in that a lot. Like whose dog can I walk? Whose rabbit can I walk? What can I do?
I mean, and the truth of the matter is, again, let's say Dash at the beginning of the show and the beginning of the books, because obviously after he meets Lily, he would want to be with Lily and spend time with her. So I'm not belittling that, but I'll say Dash at the beginning, he would love the pandemic. Like he would be like, this is like, I don't have to talk to people. I can just stay in the womb of my apartment and read books and watch old movies.
Exactly.
And I don't have to deal with people. This is like a holiday that lasts for months and months and months. So definitely, I think that's what he would be like. And it's not unlike, I've talked to some writer friends who are full-time writers who just do like to sort of hibernate. And they're like, yeah, no, my routine hasn't really changed very much because I just sort of write and read and I watch the news and know what's going on, but it doesn't, I don't usually see people anyway. So I think he would be one of those people.
Dante, what do you think Boomer would be doing? Any thoughts?
Boomer probably like probably playing video games or making a robot or like something industrial. Like I feel like he'll be making something like a Lego set spaceship or like something of that sort. Just being so connected with the character and how his mind is going from making cakes and like wanting the most thing. I definitely see him making a Lego robot or something crazy, or like a Muppet and having his own Muppet talking to it, something of that craziness.
Totally.
That was a perfect answer.
Yeah.
Very nice. Satisfying answers for each character. Here's an interesting one from Lisa, who's currently watching, or Liza, apologies. How does the writing process work? Does one of you write a chapter and then the other? Who comes up with the story concept, and how much do you work together?
Their writing process is actually really dope. I'm gonna let them.
So I can start because I started some of the books. No, like basically we will have the like smallest, thinnest premise there is. So for Dash and Lily, the first book, it was sort of treasure hunt, scavenger hunt throughout the city, cat and mouse. And the characters were named Dash and Lily. And one of us will write the first chapter and email it to the other. And then we just email back and forth and we don't talk about it. We don't plan it out. We just sort of do it. And very strange things occur because of that.
Yeah, sometimes when we'll talk to people who would collaborate and they're like, we sit in a room together, and we're like, why? Like we couldn't imagine doing that because it's just never been our way. Like we kind of stumbled into this way of writing together by accident, and then it turned out to work. But it's also really fun because I send a chapter to him and I have no idea where he's going to take it next. I always plant certain things that I hope will get picked up, but very rarely do they. And so hopefully the spontaneity that comes from that is something that the readers also feel. And like in particular with Dash and Lily, when he wrote the first one, it was January. So Christmas had just passed. And that was such a piece of luck because he ended up David wrote the first chapter and he set it at Christmas time, which added this whole other, really great big piece to it. But when he wrote the first chapter, again, this is like, we only had the Vegas outlines of a book. It was about this kid who hates Christmas and finds this notebook in the Strand. and I had to pick it up as Lily. And my automatic reaction, I mean, it's kind of like a default for me. I tend to write very cynical, sarcastic teenage girls. And my initial impulse was to do exactly that. Like, oh, we're going to write a book about two kids who are running around New York hating Christmas together. And then the first line that I wrote was, I love Christmas. And I was like, what? And I think that if I had just done it on my own, like if I had written the first chapter and I didn't have something to respond to David and kind of like, it wouldn't have happened that way. I would have defaulted to a different direction. And I'm so glad that, I didn't, because Lily ended up being such a joy to write and a surprise to me, because she was kind of not the type of character I was used to. And I don't know that that would have happened without the sort of chemistry that David and I have together and the way that we write together.
I told you.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. And given the circumstances, it sounds like your process has not been hindered very much, because a lot of it has been virtual from the beginning.
Oh yeah,
that's fortuitous.
Yeah, doesn't really change. I mean, also you have to keep in mind David has another very demanding job on the side. As the director of Scholastic, editor, he can better speak to that. But you have to work within certain time constraints with him that you might not have to with other writers. So the way in which we work together particularly suits his other job also. I don't know how we could do it otherwise.
That's a good point. Very good point. Here is an excellent question that addresses all three of you with certain queries. It's from Aaron on Facebook. Mm-hmm. David and Rachel, how much of the character's backstory do you develop before writing the book? And Dante, do you as an actor develop a backstory for your character beyond the script?
My answer is quick, so I'll go. I usually have very little backstory, and it's just like I have a very innate sense of character, and I kind of run with that. But it's hard to create too much backstory because I don't know what David's going to do. It's like always keeping you on your toes. So what I try to be is really channel a voice and let that come through, versus like an actor, I think, has to have a much better feeling for a backstory and all of that. And as a writer, I'm so much in their head that it's almost implied. Like I don't have to think about those things as much because they're kind of already simmering in the background, if that makes sense.
With me, they wrote such a clear character with Boomer that the breakdown is very easy to pick. And most times when I'm acting and I get a breakdown, to see how I will come in and play the role, I figure out who do I know that's similar to this person. So every time I play a person, I know a person that's like this in real life, which I would say is me, just with way less energy. Like this is me, like with 108 Red Bulls, like just like really like getting through it and just trying to have fun.
That's what they should have written in the breakdown.
Like, so it's really, that's what I take from it. Like I bring you always as an actor make your own breakdown and try to figure out how much farther and deeper you can go into the role, because it's going to bring different nuances out, like certain things that even walks, like the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you swing your arms, like you could tell there are certain things that change when you get into a role and you understand the breakdown of who that character is and what they're supposed to do. So, you can't walk hard when, it's a fun character. So those are the things that, that you come across in it. When you make your breakdown, it'll show, it'll show which actors make breakdowns for their characters, who went deep into, the synopsis. And I think all the actors, even like all the actors, all that in every position did their own little synopsis on how far their character was going to go. And you can tell, like I feel it. Yeah, you could definitely tell.
I mean, Santa's elf in particular, I felt you could get all of his backstory. Like it's there.
He's good.
For me, I mean, and Rachel will back me up on this. Not only do I not really think of backstory while developing characters or writing, like I like to be so in the moment. Like even say when you're writing book 3 in a series, I don't even think about the backstory that is already sort of established. And so like, as we were writing book 3, I generally every now and then would have the thought like, it would probably be a good idea to reread book 2 just to remember what's in it as you're writing book 3. And like, I never did. Like, I just was just like, I'm just gonna do this. I mean, partly it was easy because they were in London, so it wasn't like, oh, we've already sent them to this restaurant. But part of it was like, okay, I'm so with them right now. They're not remembering what happened a year ago right now, so I shouldn't be remembering what happened a year ago. So it's very interesting that I just need to be in that moment in space with the character. And then the copy editors or Rachel will be like, David, that grandfather you mentioned doesn't exist. And I'm like, oh, okay, oops. let's rewrite that paragraph.
What's continuity?
Right.
Whatever.
That's what editors are for.
That's
Shout
right.
out to Nancy Hinkle for keeping us on the straight and narrow.
And I think someone wanted to ask a question about a musical. I saw in the
Yes,
chat.
there is one near the top. You basically summarized it. Do you think that Dash and Lily would ever be made into a musical? Specifically, is from Jake S. Wanted to know.
I don't see why not. I mean, and certainly Joe Trace, who adapted the book for Netflix, also wrote the book for Be More Chill that went to Broadway, and he's done some of the Percy Jackson things. And so ask Joe. But yeah, I don't see why not. I couldn't write it, but yeah, that would be super fun, and I'd love to see those production numbers. Love it.
I'm off. I mean,
that would be fun.
Jake, whoever you are, you're in my tribe. I'm so with you there. Yeah, I think that would be really fun. I mean, like again, I feel we're taunting you because again, it's now 3 hours and 10 minutes until the show goes up, but we've all seen it. So I can just say the music direction in this show is so incredible. Like not just like the score that Dan the Automator did, but like every song choice is like mind-blowingly good. Including one Stave song that I'm not going to name because I don't want to give it away. But one of the episodes ends with a song by the Staves that is maybe my favorite musical moment in anything ever. So yeah. So I will say that even though the TV show is not a musical, it sure as hell has a lot of really great music in it. So I think you will be pleased by that interpretation.
Yeah, David and I watched the first 2 episodes together. I mean, we weren't in the same, he was in New York and I was here, but we were texting, we watched them at the same time. And like so much of our texting about it was like, I can't believe they used that song. I can't believe they got that song. I mean, like the music, it was just incredible to see.
So that's a solid maybe.
Yeah, we're all for it.
Why not?
All right, good.
Don't ask me to write any songs though, I'm terrible at it.
Speaking of writing on TV, Rachel, you decided to write on this series. Do you hope to do other TV projects, and will they be adaptations of your work or branching out elsewhere?
Yes, and yes. I'm currently writing a pilot script of one of my books called My Almost Flawless Tokyo Dream Life for 20th TV and Disney Plus. And I'm hoping to do more of that. It's been a great experience, and it's been so informed also by having the experience on Dash and Lily.
That's great.
It's a different way of writing, and it's a different way of thinking. And I joke that because I don't have another job like David, so I've been writing as an author for many years. And when people ask me why I want to screenwrite, I say it's because it's so collaborative, and I've been alone in a room for a long time. So it's nice to do something that has a lot more voices in it other than just mine.
That collaborative element is nice.
Yeah.
So here's one specifically for David. Can you talk a little more about your experience and process of writing while your characters were physically around you? Was it surreal? And where was David in the process? The observer, one/all of the characters, etc. And that's from Ellen on Facebook.
That's a great question. I mean, again, it was 3 a.m. in the rare book room of the Strand. So my mind was already very discombobulated, but I mean, it was kind of a blast. I mean, and I think anybody who reads the new book will understand when they get to the part that I wrote that night, which part it was. And I will say that Scott, who worked with Joe and was just amazing on the show, was sort of sitting next to me, and I kept turning to him and be like, "I need you to name a dog right now." He'd be like, "Okay," or I'd be like, "So, in the craft services tent, what is always the last thing that people eat? Like what just hangs out there? Everybody eats everything else, but what always stays there and gets sort of moldy?" And he's like, "Oh, the hummus, definitely the hummus." And so I was sort of quizzing, and he was just like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Nothing. I'm just nothing." Because I did not want anybody to be distracted by the fact that I was writing like while they were filming. So I just sort of had my laptop open, and they probably thought I was emailing, but I was writing away. So it was pretty cool. But like I was very much in the book. I was not necessarily looking up and like then putting it down. I was just like in that space that they were in. But again, when you read the book, you'll see that space was very similar to the space I was in.
Also, just goes to show you what a beast he is. He never stops working, ever.
Well, because my co-author is like, "When am I getting that new chapter?" I was like, all right, it's 3 a.m. I'm going to finish this off.
Burn the midnight oil.
Dogs.
Oh, here's something that I do. Forgive me, I don't recall if we've covered this, but Dante, were you familiar with the YA book series before you auditioned for the role of Boomer? And that's from Edward on Facebook.
Actually, no, I wasn't. It was only until after. I think the day that I had my my testing with Brad and Austin, that morning I came out and I like really just tried to figure out where I can find the book online and like figure out like who wrote it, like who's a part of it, and then I see their faces on Google, and then I'm like, oh, okay. So then I just go through the synopsis of the book, and like I'm telling my parents like, oh, this is what the book's about, this is what's going on in the book. So I didn't really realize the the young adult series until after booking it. Actually, I was like super excited because I Christmas young adult book. I mean, like I don't, where I'm from, I didn't hear about that. That's not something that I heard
common
about.
actually. Most of the actors on everything we've written have not really actually read the book until they went to audition for it. So that's actually pretty common.
Yeah. Let's see. Looking through some more questions for a good one. This is kind of a cute one here. Let's see who it's from. Oh, it's from an anonymous user. What would the character's favorite Carvel ice cream cake be? If that's possible to know.
I mean, it basically comes down to the Cookie Puss versus Fudgy the Whale debate, right? I mean, this is one of the existential questions of our time. Like,
I'm like,
wait until now. I mean, this is like we need 2 more hours to answer this question. I mean,
okay, perhaps that was too hard.
I mean, I think Dash would be more the traditionalist Cookie Puss. Like, I would feel that he just wants the authentic Cookie Puss. He doesn't want Cookie Opus. He doesn't want like Jack-o'-lantern Cookie Puss. He just wants Cookie Puss to be Cookie Puss.
Straight up. No,
yeah,
don't alter.
I mean, I would guess that if there was Santa Cookie Puss, that's probably what Lily would want. I mean, I don't want to presume, but I feel she would want Cookie Puss when he was wearing the Christmas sweater.
I think Boomer's getting whatever's on the special. He's whatever the special is that day.
Yeah.
He's down for whatever.
He's down for whatever the special is that day.
That's right. Let's see. Oh, this is interesting. Did the bathroom stall Nick and Nora reference make it into the show? That's from Tiff. Or
I would watch carefully in episode 3.
Oh,
there's a lot of Easter eggs in there. And thank you to all the people on in the production who made that happen.
All right, cool. All right, so we are sort of coming up on the hour. We've got time for a couple more questions.
I'm going to interrupt. Dante, did we answer your question? You were typing a question, weren't you?
Oh, they answered it.
Okay, we got it? Okay, good.
Yeah, how you felt about seeing your characters virtually, like, as you're writing about them.
Oh, okay,
that's
awesome.
Yeah, that's the mindset I wanted to see. How deep, it goes as a writer as well.
Cool. All right, sorry, Nick, to interrupt.
Oh, no, don't worry. Let's see. Any exciting destination ideas for Dash and Lily 4? Dash and Lily in Amsterdam? And that's from Zach.
As we had so much fun, writing book 3, and also because we wrote book 3 right on the heels of watching the show be filmed. And, we never even intended to write book 2. And here we are in 3. And it was so funny. It was like right after the filming wrapped, David just sent me a note and he wrote, book 4, Hawaii? I think it was January, and just like thinking about vacation, like let's do more with this.
That would be sick.
I would love. Yeah, but I actually have a little fantasy of like them going to like Vienna and like all the Sound of Music places, and one of those places where they're like super into Christmas fetishes. I just think Lily would love it, and Dash would hate it, and it would be so much fun.
I mean, I always pitch Rachel, I want a book to be set on the Love Boat. Like, I feel that like we could bring back the Love Boat. Like, what's the use of having power in Hollywood if you can't bring back the Love Boat? But apparently that's not very commercial. But no, but I do think when you are on the set, and it's been sleeting and it's cold and it's like December, you're like, this crew would really appreciate it if we were in Hawaii right now. Like that definitely you should write.
What
Whoever,
can we do
like,
for
keeps
everyone
surviving
else?
Hawaii 5-0, they know what they're doing. They're like, yeah, this makes for a happy set. So you never know. Hawaii sounds pretty good.
And we're open to suggestions.
Yeah,
Where
I like
would you
Amsterdam.
like to see them go?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll crowdsource the next book.
All right. All right, so let's make these the last 2. This one is from an anonymous user. How do you, and this is sort of like a dreaded question, so I'm sorry if anyone doesn't like this one, but do you have any tips for people who get writer's block, and how do you overcome it?
I don't dread that one. Dante, you take it.
Hey, look, sometimes I just think about birds, trees. I step outside, I take a breath, I do some yoga, and I make music, or I produce, or I write animations, or scripts for different things. So really, I just hang out with my friend. I'll just go hang out with my homie, like just go hang out 6 feet apart. We'll play video games. He'll play on the other side of the room. I'll play on the. So just really just making adventures. I think I've started doing that after I've been hanging out with Boomer, like making everything a mission.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's so
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's actually my advice, is that if you feel like you're stuck on something and you just can't work it through, go do something else and do something that's fun and that inspires you. And whether it's playing video games with a friend or chatting with a friend or taking a walk or whatever it is, like change your headspace, because your headspace can get into this place of like, I'm stuck. And the more you feel stuck, the stucker you are. So change that. And then it's always helpful you come back to it with a different perspective, and hopefully you had a little fun in the meantime. If you're like most writers, you probably had a lot of snacks, and carry on.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say that, and if you keep hitting that wall, I would say talk it over with somebody. Like that the part of your brain that talks about something is very different than the part of your brain that writes and creates something.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the times when you're talking to somebody else and they're just like asking you questions like, okay, well, why does your character feel that way? Having somebody ask you that directly will make you be like, well, because they're mad. And you're like, oh my God, they're mad. I didn't realize they were mad, except you asked me that question.
Yeah.
And now that I know they're mad. So talking it through with somebody, even somebody who's not a writer and has no idea what you're writing about, still they will know the basic principles of a story or life and can shoot questions at you, and you'd be amazed at what comes out of that.
Yeah.
I imagine it's probably pretty valuable to have the perspective of someone who specifically isn't a writer, just like the closest approximation to someone who would be a consumer of the story. You know.
Yeah.
But final question for all of you before we adjourn for the night. What's next for each of you? That's from Co.
Hey, Co.
Well, right now, for me, you guys want to start? I can start.
There, go for it.
For me, working on my EP as an artist, putting out music underneath it. I'm on Dante the poet, and just writing animation as right now, just making sure I have a pitch deck and certain different things because I want to go into the animation world and have my own show that way. So I will be asking David and Ms. Rachel for tips as well, just to make sure that my writing is clear. But yeah, I think right now just making sure my EP, my music is good, and also writing an animation show.
For me, I'm working on my Tokyo project and trying to stay sane in everything that's happening in the world, and trying to think about what's next to write. Also, new ideas.
And then I get to bring it all full circle because so as Rachel mentioned, Joe Trace, who is the showrunner and wrote some of the episodes and is just the all-around like god of Dash and Lily on Netflix. I know that's not the official title, but like that's how I think of him. He did the musical, wrote the book for the musical Be More Chill. And amusingly, while he was then working on the Dash and Lily, I was actually working on adapting Be More Chill into a graphic novel. And so we basically flipped our jobs. He went from Be More Chill to Dash and Lily. I went from Dash and Lily to Be More Chill. But come January, I mean, Be More Chill is a book very dear to my and Rachel's hearts because Ned Vicini, the author of Be More Chill, was somebody who we really loved. And so I was very honored to sort of be able to sort of take the baton and turn it into a graphic novel. So that will come out in January. So you guys should all pre-order your copies from the Strand. And yeah, so since this is the last question, I am going to close. I mean, again, thank you, Dante, for joining us. This is made it all the more special.
Thank you, everyone, for
coming.
To
have you here. And again, everybody else, you have 3 hours to do something else. Then you should start watching. But most of all, again, thank you to the Strand. It is the heart of this book. It is the heart of being a bookish teenager and a bookish adult in New York. And so again, just urging everybody, please, again, buy as many signed copies as you want of any of our books, especially Mind the Gap. But we will have signed copies of all of them. But also, while you're doing that, do all of your holiday shopping and buy lots of books for lots of people. The Strand will mail them to you. They're very good about that. So please support the Strand. We are so excited to again, we wish we were in the building. We wish we were in the Rare Book Room right now, launching it and having sort of a party to celebrate both the book and the TV show. We'll do that eventually. But for now, it's so great to be here virtually and be together and get to support the Strand this way. So again, thank you, Nick, and thank you everybody at the Strand for just being so wonderful and for letting us maraud around your store for like 3 nights to film. That was a brave thing to do, but we left it intact.
It was our pleasure, seriously. We can't wait to welcome you both back to the store in a safe manner whenever that manifests. So thanks so much to the 3 of you for being here. And
thank you, Dante. Thank you, Strand. Thank you
guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
As a fellow animation industry enthusiast, best of luck to you, Dante.
Yes, I am here to read anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to send out, once I get it finished, I'm going to send it to you guys, and hopefully.
Please do.
Yeah,
great.
I definitely will.
All right.
And thanks to everybody out there.
Yeah, thank you for coming, everybody.
Take care.
Enjoy the show.
Links to purchase the books are in the chat, and also you can press the green button in the middle bottom of your screen. If anyone wants to watch this again, the replay will be available immediately once we adjourn. Just use the same link and the same password to watch it. So with that, everyone have a wonderful night.
Good night.
Great. Bye, everybody.
Take care.